But at some point, the math is the math. And
I think we can do a better job using that information.
it reinforces my belief that I have the best constituents. Hello, Austin. Hello, District 6. Hello, Clawback viewers. Welcome to the 41st episode of the Clawback. It seems shocking that we've been doing this for so long, but we have, and we've got another great show for you today. We've got the president of the Austin Firefighters Association, Bob Nix, and we'll talk a little bit about the COVID response and what they're going through. Terri Broussard Williams, an amazing D6 constituent who I don't even want to go into all the amazing stuff she does. She's unbelievable. And a D6 musician is joining the show today. It's going to be a good one. First, just to talk, as we always do at the beginning in these times, talking about the pandemic briefly, the hospitalizations continue to fall or level off kind of in that lower part of stage 3. You're doing a great job, Austin. Keep wearing masks, keep avoiding unsafe conditions. We're about to go into a holiday weekend, Labor Day holiday weekend. Don't put your guard down. This is the time to stay strong and stay true to what we all have to do to get through this pandemic. Austin, I know that you're going to do a good job this weekend. We're all going to be proud of it, especially as we're about to see possibly school reopenings, challenges at the university, all that stuff. You're doing great, Austin. Keep up the good work. Something else that happened this week, we had 2 council meetings in a row. Council meeting last week, council meeting yesterday, and we adopted an additional set of quarter-cent fund projects in District 6. These are small-scale transportation projects that my office has been able to move forward. We've got new sidewalks, new traffic lights, new crosswalks, all across the district, and you'll see new signs go up, dynamic speed display signs in Avery Ranch and Canyon Creek, new stoplights for Anderson Mill Road. Probably see Anderson Mill Road under construction right now. Very exciting to see that project moving forward. New and additional improvements for every corner of the district. New sidewalk on McNeil, extending the sidewalks on McNeil. It's a lot of great stuff. All of that stuff approved in the last week. Really good stuff to keep your eyes peeled for in your own neighborhoods all across District 6. But let's jump right into our first guest. I want to talk to one of the impacts to this pandemic that if you're doing your job right, you don't see, is all of our first responders that are having to deal with these challenges and the changes about what it means to be a first responder during a pandemic. So I'm really proud to bring on, oh wait, I got it backwards. My first guest is actually not Bob. Bob's my third guest. My first guest is Terri. I've never done that before. 41 episodes in. It's a live show, y'all. My first guest is a District 6 resident and a close personal friend, the amazing Terri Broussard Williams. Hi, Terri.
Hello. I will take you first, second, third, any of the slots. I'm just happy to be here with you today.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you join the show. I'm sorry I messed up the introduction.
No, it's all good.
Glad to have you here, Terri. You've done such amazing work for the community. You've and as I've gotten to know you and in our friendship. But first, how is everybody doing? Everyone in the family safe, healthy? Everybody good?
Yes, I am from Louisiana, and it was a rough ride. It still has been a tough time for my family in Louisiana between COVID, the intersection of Black Lives Matters, and the hurricane last week. But we are strong, resilient people, so we're doing great. Thanks for asking.
I'm glad to hear about that. So tell the folks watching, what is Movement Maker?
Oh my gosh. Yes, it is a passion of mine. I have had this varied career from being on television to being a nonprofit professional to serving as a lobbyist. And at every juncture, I realized that I was giving people information so that they can make decisions for themselves or their community. And I had no experience with all of it. I really believe that you don't need a pedigree to create change. So I created a platform called Movement Maker that gives people tools, strategies, but most important, inspiration so that they can make the changes that they want to see in the community and really be a part of a collective of people that would lift them up as they did it.
That sounds amazing. What are the components? I think you have a podcast as part of that too?
Yes, I have a blog, which is where I put most of my content, and you can find it at movementmakercollective.com or terrybwilliams.com, as well as a podcast where I bring on friends to talk about the good they're doing throughout the world, not just in the country, but throughout the world, as well as um, my book and some YouTube videos as well.
Well, tell me more about the book. How exciting to publish a book.
Oh, it's beyond exciting. We're coming up on a month since the launch of Find Your Fire. Of course, I have tons of copies, but I, for the longest time, just had these thoughts in my head about how easy it is to create change if you truly believe in the work that you're doing and you surround yourself with a great collective. And so I pulled all of those things together and started to tell my own story about how I became a lobbyist. I literally had never met a lobbyist before my first day at work as a lobbyist. The only lobbyist I'd seen was Elle Woods on Legally Blonde 2, like where Elle saves the dogs in DC. True story. And so I wanted to tell that story, but also the story of just everyday people that were doing extraordinary things. So they are all included in Find Your Fire. But not only do I tell their story, I lay out exactly the fire starter formula and the tools and the steps they took to make it happen so that anyone can do the same.
So this is why I got confused who my first guest was. It's a fire-themed episode of the Clawback, as it turns out.
You have to come after me to put out the fire, right?
There we go. That's how you're starting the fires. Bob puts out the fires. That's good. Well, that's really exciting. When did the book publish?
It launched on August the 6th. And
oh, wow.
One of those
brand new
yourself moments.
That's great. And where can people find your book?
On Amazon. Amazon has all the things, including Find Your Fire.
That's exciting. Well, I mean, this is such a crazy. I feel like I'm running out of words, right? Like, how do we even describe this moment we are in, and all the various different ways people are going through this time? And I think about my own family, where I can work from home, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. My boyfriend works at HEB, and he has to be out in the public.
Yeah.
And we have asked so much of our essential workers that are. We've conscripted them to be the bouncers of COVID, where they're the ones enforcing masks when that's not what they signed up to be when they're working at the grocery store. And then all the other various experiences people are having, and life still is going on. There's still people doing all the other things, and I'm just really hopeful. I want Terri, I want you just to have a moment to talk about what. From your perspective with Movement Maker and Find Your Fire, how do you see this moment, and what do you say to folks that are struggling to find the next step?
Yeah. Before I get into that, I want to say you get no hall pass from life, right? No matter if you're in your home and you are, safe and you have the ability to work at home, you're still dealing with things. You could be in isolation and just depressed because you might get your energy from others. If you're out there, I say prayers. I am a prayerful person. I say prayers for those people that work every day. They are providing the food that we need, the water that we must get, the toilet paper when we needed it, right? But so we do have to keep all that top of mind. And so I'll tell a quick story before I answer your question. I was set to launch this book in March. It was ready last year, but I was ready to go and drop it in March. And I will never forget the disappointment I felt when I had to push it back. But little did I know at that time that we would have, the pandemic would be as big as it is. We'd have the most awful Memorial Day that we could remember, with the shooting of George Floyd, and then all the other things that happened after. And so now is the time. This is the perfect opportunity for Movement Maker to launch. And that was a lesson within the lesson that I had to learn. And so for the people that are interested in starting a movement, there are 3 things that I want them to know. The first is, if you hear something, if you feel called to do something, especially if it's something that others ignore, you have to listen to that. You have to take the first step and listen to it. The second, you do not have to have a pedigree, a fancy degree. People in Austin and Texas will say you have to work at the Capitol before you, become a lobbyist. That is not true. I have had an incredible career and got to work with some amazing people without following the traditional path. So don't be afraid to try. And third, you just have to start. You just have to take that first step. And sometimes we get so caught up in wanting to have the perfect plan and wanting to have the perfect message and wanting to have the perfect look. None of that matters. People need you right now to step up. And so, Jimmy, I'm so grateful for you. I remember the first time I met you when you were running for office and you knocked on my door, and I was like, are you a real life person knocking on my door asking for my vote? Something that just isn't commonplace in District 6. And so I love that about you. You go above and beyond and make sure people know that they are people and that they are good people. And you also let them know that you are a fire starter and you truly want to create change. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Terry. I will say, one of the hardest parts about campaigning in a pandemic is not being able to go and talk to people in person nearly as much as we were able to do in the campaigns in 16 and 14. And that's a struggle, but we're trying to do everything else that we can. And this show is part of that. And I'm so thankful, Terry, that you took some time today and joined the show and shared your words of inspiration and wisdom with the community. I'm so grateful to consider you not just a constituent, but a friend.
Thank you. I'm a foot soldier in District 6, so I want you and everyone in the district to put me to work so we can create change.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Terry, for being on the show today.
Yes, have a great weekend.
All right. Terri is really an unbelievable talent and inspirational leader for the whole region and even at higher levels. And I'm really grateful that she had some time to join us today. I want to go right into our musical guest. We've been bringing live musicians onto the show since we started doing live guests back in March. And it's always special when we can bring on a musician who is right here, lives right here in the heart of District 6. And so I'm excited to bring on Sho Humphries. Hi, Sho.
Hello.
Thanks for joining the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be
So,
here.
first, is your family safe and healthy? Everybody doing okay?
Yes, we're staying.
Uh-oh, we lost your audio. Uh-oh. Audio just cut out. We can't hear. Where'd he go? I want to make sure it's not my audio. Can you hear me? Oh boy, we're having some audio problems here. Well, hold on, folks. We're gonna take a pause, and we'll hopefully be right back. All right, so let's go and bring up our last guest, Bob Nix with the Austin Firefighters Association. Bob, thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I'm so glad. We'll do a little bit of a dance here and see if we can get our audio issues corrected for Sho. But first, like I like to start all of the interviews with, how's your family doing? How's everybody? Is everybody safe and healthy right now?
Well, thanks for asking, Jimmy. My family is doing wonderful. I'm very blessed and staying healthy and trying to get through this very disorienting time. So thanks for asking.
Well, thanks, Bob, for all that you're doing with the Austin Firefighters Association. First, just tell folks what the association is, and what does the Firefighters Association do?
Well, we're an association of firefighters who try to meet together and decide our collective interest, and then talk to people like yourself, Jimmy, and our management. And our main impetus is, I don't think you've ever seen me pounding my fist on the desk asking for bread and butter issues like wages and benefits. I'm always talking about, and we're always talking about, how we can make our service better to the community and stay relevant.
Well, thanks, Bob. It's been great working with you in the time that I've been on the council. But this is such a bizarre time for firefighters and all of our first responders having to deal with this pandemic. How has it changed the work of your members?
Well, I'm going to talk in general about the work we do and then talk about the pandemic too. I mean, to understand the fire service, because fire seems like such a traditional sort of service, you have to realize we're an all hazard organization. Anytime somebody has a life-threatening call, we have at least 4 trained firefighters within 4 minutes to respond and make sure your day gets better. And there's really, to look at EMS or fire, you need to kind of look at emergency versus non-emergency calls. We're there for emergency calls. We got to maintain an emergency response posture at all times. But to the extent we can, we handle a host of non-emergency calls too. And I think last time you put a statistic out that the fires occur about 0.7% of our calls, or less than 1%. And that's true. But when you look at how much time we spend on scene on fires, it's about 14% of our total time. And it's our highest call for what we consider emergency calls, where lives are at stake. And a lot of people don't realize we make medical calls. Firefighters provide fairly advanced medicine and advanced airways, and we do CPR. We're usually the ones actually with our hands on the patients. We're the biggest first responders in Travis County. And so we do a host of things that are emergency related, not just fire. And the name fire is kind of a traditional name we've stuck with, but it probably should be changed if you really want to reflect what we do. But moving into COVID, we're an emergency service organization, so we're well trained to handle these things, but it provides a different dynamic when you realize you might be taking the stuff home to your friends and family, and has created additional stresses on the job that I've never seen before. I think the department and the association are good at kind of managing those, but it's just a different sort of time I never thought I'd see in my life, and it has been a big challenge.
Well, definitely pass my thanks along to all the members for adapting and being so good at their jobs at adapting to this really, really challenging time. And like you said, one of the most interesting things that I learned coming into the job was that the fire department is so much bigger than fires, and it really is an emergency response in all these various search and rescue and hazardous materials and all those different things that is a really critical service to the community. Two things that I want to talk about specific to the fire department, though, is wildfires. District 6 is right on the edge of the Balcones Preserve, and there's a lot of tree cover, which we love, but those preserve areas also increase the risk of wildfires, and we've invested in wildfire mitigation, but we know that the job is big. So can you talk a little bit about just what wildfire mitigation looks like in the work of the fire department?
Sure. And let me talk about the hazards you guys are facing in District 6, because they really are immense. Austin, and really District 6 and District 10 to some degree, and maybe further south, but really the northwest, is the third highest risk in the nation. The highest risk in the nation behind Californian cities. So it is something we need to deal with. The association helped to form the wildfire division several years ago. And I don't know if you know this, Jimmy, but we wrote we're in the midst of writing national curriculum on will we interface firefighting. We're working with Cal Fire, has 6,000 firefighters. When you hear California fighting, they're the ones doing it. We're working with them in Colorado Springs, and we are happy to say that training has been finished, and we're delivering to our firefighters soon. Hands-on training, and they've already been through the online training, and all that's been developed largely because of what the association brought forward. So we're really excited about that. And the main thing is, and Jimmy, you've been a good supporter of wildfire, and I think you know this. You got to mitigate fuel, in terms of making sure the fuel loads are lower, and you got to train firefighters to prepare. And those are the two main. It's the two-prong approach. There's other things as far as meeting with citizens and making sure they're doing their part too. But from a fire department perspective, that's where we really that's the tip of our spear.
Well, thanks, Bob. You've been a great leader in bringing increased attention to wildfire issues, and I've worked with a few of my colleagues to do the same and do more investments in wildfire mitigation. It was a great experience when you brought in some of the firefighters from the West Coast who have really been fighting wildfires at a whole other level than we've been fortunate not to experience here in our community, and to get to tour around and see things live and in person about where those dangers occur. And I'm glad to hear that the training is underway. Per usual, Austin leads, and you and the Firefighters Association are a critical part of how Austin leads the nation in solving all of these very challenging and critical issues.
And Jimmy, I'd like to mention really quick, you talk about the firefighters coming from California. That was something that we hosted. It's quite expensive to do, but the two firefighters that we brought in, and I know you met these folks. They were the instant commanders at the campfire, where 80 people were incinerated in their cars trying to exit. And the reason we brought them in, we brought them out here to do some of the curriculum stuff a few months ago, and they drove through your areas and they said, "Oh my God, this is worse than the campfire." And so they were really motivated to come out here and kind of relay that message. And I think it's, I don't want to make people fearful, but it does mean that we need to prepare. And I appreciate your support in that area.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. It's definitely a big, important topic of conversation, and I'm glad to see us leading on the WUI code, which is the Wildland Urban Interface Code, to make sure our building codes are improved. And frankly, I think it would have been better if the state had allowed counties to have land use controls before all of this area got built. So much of the areas at the most risk were built prior to the city having any of its voice involved in that, and that's. We'll find a way. We'll find a way, and we've got the best firefighters in the business to do it. So, Bob, the last piece, just real quick, we also have a new fire station coming to District 6, and your group's been great leading on getting those fire stations added to the council agenda, and Mayor Pro Tem Delia Garza leading on that initiative too, including one right here in District 6 for Canyon Creek. So, Bob, thanks for all that you've done to keep our community safer and protecting us against wildfires, but also all of the other hazardous conditions that your folks have to respond to.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks so much, Bob. There we go. Okay, that was great. I'm so glad Bob took time to join the show. Wildfire issues certainly in some neighborhoods in District 6, Canyon Creek and Grandview Hills and River Place and parts of Steiner Ranch that are in the city of Austin. A lot of questions about how we ensure that we're protected against wildfires, including new investments that the council has made in wildfire mitigation. And we got to have our firefighters out there solving those problems. So glad that Bob joined the show. Okay, back to our musical guest. I think we've corrected our audio issues. Sho, are you back with me?
I think so. Can you hear me? Sorry about that.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that we were able to make that work. Okay, so I'm glad that your family's safe. I'm glad that everybody's healthy. That was the last thing I heard you say before the audio cut out. But you're also a senior at Westwood High School, right?
Yes, I'm a senior. Actually, I was just at my math class before I joined the show. I'm on lunch break right now.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, I'm glad that, I guess during a pandemic, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be able to do this. So I'm glad you're able to take a moment and join the show. What has it been like being, your senior year during this time? And just what have you been having to deal with?
Fortunately, not as much as some people. I've heard issues about, 11% my school district, the kids not having access to internet. So thankfully, that hasn't been a problem for me. And I'm glad we've been able to get COVID cases down some, and keep the schools closed. Then online school, I miss interacting in person with my friends and my teachers, but it actually hasn't been too bad. It's been fairly easy for me to adjust to it, so I'm glad about that.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm really excited to hear about your music.
Yes. Sorry.
So yeah, no, it's fine. Tell me about the music that you play.
Yes. Okay. So I play an ukulele. This is a kamaka ukulele made in Hawaii. I was inspired to sing Hawaiian ukulele player Jake Shimabukuro when he came through Austin a few years back. And I had seen his YouTube performance of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, but playing that on ukulele, and he had some embellishments, and that kind of stuff. I saw this as a 9-year-old, and I was like, wow, I got to do something like that. And I was inspired by also the crazy scene here. I don't know if you know the band P-Lander Z, but they go out and they call themselves a comic action punk band. And there's all sorts of crazy creative people in this town. And I was like, I want to be a part of that. So that's so exciting. Just at 8 or 9 years old to see it and then do it. You're putting out music. You've released songs during the shutdown, yes,
including with it as a collaboration. How have you been able to pull that off?
Well, the power of the internet really is amazing. And in this day and age, there's things like digital audio workstations. So before you had to go into a studio record, but now with this mic on this cable, I can record into a computer and use MIDI or digital instruments to fill in drums and bass. And then I've been using primarily Instagram to reach out to people. Reached out to an Italian pianist, the song I'll play in a little bit. We were both featured in the guitar YouTuber Ichkanito's video for fan covers. And he reached out to me and he's like, let's make a song together. So we never have talked face to face, but we were able to just chat, and he would send me a riff, I would send him some drums and ukulele, and we just went back and forth like that over the internet and made a song together.
That's so amazing and so creative. Tell me about this.
Yes. Okay, so that is the music video is a still frame from my music video for Love You, which is a song I put out with local musician Evan Colvord. He sings and plays harmonica on this song. But this is something that I worked on, I kind of like pecking away at it, just little bit by little bit on my computer over 7 months or so. And this shot is actually in this room. And it was, I don't know, it's kind of, I had so much fun creating different stuff for this.
That's four of you, right?
Yes.
You're not a quadruplet.
I think not. But yes.
That is really hilarious. So tell me, so I'm excited to hear about the music. Tell me what you're going to play, and then I'll let you take it away.
All right. So I'm going to play Digital Summer, which is a song I wrote with Italian pianist Sarah. And on the studio version, you'll hear some production by AY Collapse. It's the second of 2 singles I've put out so far under Sho Humphries, which is my name. You can listen to the studio recording on Spotify or on Bandcamp or wherever you listen to music. For now, I'd like to bring you a little solo take on it with me and my pedal board. Hope you enjoy.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
Thank you.
I'm blown away. That was, and you were so into it, man. I mean, I don't have the hair that you have to really make it work, but that was really cool. That was really
Thank you very
cool.
much.
Unbelievably talented show.
Yeah, if you want to see more of that, please check out my website, shotunes.com. That's spelled like my name, SHO, or my YouTube or the Instagram handle down below.
I love that. Well, last two things I want to talk about before we let you go. You
All
over
right.
your shoulder, you have the Asian Creatives
Yes.
logo.
Yes. So it's the logo for the Asian Creatives of Greater Austin. I believe that snippet you showed from the Love You MV was in a video presentation in one of the city council meetings. Or sorry, not city council, but music directive boards. So I don't know if you were there or not. I was at school, but 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 it's a group about bringing an Asian voice to the table. As you know, like K-pop and stuff has been really taking off in the mainstream, but otherwise, there's not a ton of Asian artists around. You had Betty Sue on last week.
Right, last week.
She's one of the founding members of this, and I was just someone that was invited to join. I really believe in this, but I've been lucky enough to grow up and see Asian artists around me, like P. Z that I mentioned. St. Logan. There's Japanese restaurant owners there, and Korean restaurant owners, and they are musicians. And there's a bunch of like Betty Sue around. I can look and see them performing, and I think that has helped me decide to really pursue it. It's like, hey, there are people that look like me, as Betty Sue said, but also I'm Japanese American, so it's kind of cool to be able to have that extra connection with local musicians. It's like and yeah, so I really want to bring
that's
that
awesome.
moving forward. So yes,
That's great, and I'm glad to see that. Not only are you an incredibly talented musician, as evidenced by your performance today, but that you're also participating in the community of artists, and
Yes,
that's such
I
a
hope to do more of that in the
critical way to support the next generation. I mean, you were the next generation. There'll be a generation after you, and you gotta keep encouraging folks to show up and share their creative talents. The last thing I want to just so you're participating
yes.
in Ham Day. Talk a little bit about this.
So this will be my next performance as part of Ham Day, which, if you don't know, is the Health Alliance for Austin musicians. Being a creative doesn't come with benefits, so groups like these are really helpful to the creative scene. And my brother and I will just be streaming. So this will be with my brother. I should say that Sheen is my brother. He plays guitar. He also has his Instagram at Sho Humphries. And we'll be doing some duet stuff. And yeah, please consider supporting the Health Alliance for Austin musicians.
That's excellent. Ham is such a great organization, and we've certainly supported it at the city. And I'm glad to see that you're participating in the live stream and having more Asian creatives participating in our beautiful live music scene in Austin. Sho, thank you so much for spending some time. I hope I haven't distracted you from your schoolwork too much today.
Not at all.
and I mean, really, just unbelievable. Your music today was just such a gift to share with the community. Thank you so much, Sho.
Thank you very much for having me, council member.
That was awesome. I don't think I've ever heard a ukulele played that way. Ukulele, I think is how he pronounced it. Yeah, that was awesome. And we rolled with the punches on our technical issues today. I think we're all learning how to do that during a pandemic. You just make it work. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks again to Terri and Bob and Sho for joining the Clawback today. We're heading into the meat of the re-election cycle. And so I want to make sure everyone knows you can go to jimmyflanagan.com/next. You can sign up for a yard sign. You can sign up to be a volunteer. You can always make a donation on the website for the campaign. Help me keep this good work moving forward. You can also see on my website our new solutions section, which talks about all of the amazing work we've done in just the last 3.5 years to help District 6 solve the problems that the district has been facing, and that, frankly, prior to my being on the council, we were being ignored. And now we're getting our problems solved. And I hope I can count on everybody's support to keep this work moving forward into 2021. Thanks, everybody, for watching the show today. I think it's been a good one. And keep wearing your masks. Keep avoiding, those tight, closed situations. The hospitalizations are down. We're going to survive this thing as a community. And we'll see y'all next week.